So I've been trading on Betfair for over 20 years now. And I sit down every day, press a few buttons, and some money appears on the other side. Hooray! But if you're just starting out, it can be a little bit confusing, and there are often contradictory advice available out there. So I thought, wouldn't it be useful if I compiled a little list of things that I think you will find useful if you're just starting out on your Betfair trading journey. Please like and comment on this video. That will allow me to produce better quality videos and more of them. And if you're interested in learning from somebody that's been doing this for over 20 years, then subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon if you want notification of new videos as they're released. So my first tip for you is beware the beginner's cycle. That sounds ominous, doesn't it? But typically when you first start, you want to get going as quickly as possible. And as a consequence, you collect all manner of advice and guidance that you possibly can. But ultimately, you will find at the end of this experience, you will just be a little bit poorer and you may not have learnt much about trading. There really is no substitute for getting some screen time. And yes, you need to understand the basics, but most of those are available. That's why we produce things like the Academy, because that gets you onto that first step, that first process where you begin to learn about how to trade and things that you should be doing. Can be a costly exercise. However, if you get to that stage, then spending a lot of time learning how the market works and how you interact within it is the key. Collecting all manner of courses, books, and other information is basically not the key. I was told this when I first started trading financial markets, and somebody said to me, the market is there to make money from you, not for you. I ignored that advice and spent a fortune collecting information that was absolutely useless. So yeah, my first advice to you is to get the basics right, get some practice in, and then decide which path you want to go down, not the other way around. So a common mistake when you're first starting out is to be looking for that perfect strategy. And as a consequence, people focus or tend to focus on one particular strategy. And what you will find with that is that you try every single strategy and none of them work. And you're thinking, well, this is frustrating. I can't seem to find a single strategy that works. And I'll tell you why. It's because there is no single strategy that works. Your role as a trader is to apply a strategy to a market, not to find some golden goose that lays fantastic platinum eggs, because that is the hardest thing to do. To find a generic strategy that works generically well in generic markets applied to generic selections is just the hardest thing ever to do. So part of your role as a trader is not to look for that unbelievable strategy. It's to actually look at strategies and say, yeah, that will work in this market. This will work in that market. You have to apply a strategy to a market, not look for a strategy full stop as the way to be able to make money. That's part of the skill that you bring to the mix as a trader. When trading, execution can be an edge as well. What do I mean by that? Well, if you're trading in an active betting market, then somebody who's actually using a website will actually be slower and unable to do as many things as somebody that's using a bit of software. If you're using a bit of software, then if you semi-automate that or automate part of it, or you do something a little bit cleverer, then you'll beat somebody that is unable to do that. So never forget that actually executing a trade can be an edge as well. And that's important in terms of not only the way that you do it, but also your ability to be able to execute that trade. So practicing, getting in and out of the market, doing all of those things will give you an edge in the market over somebody that doesn't bother. When you first start trading, and I know this is going to be disappointing for you, you will probably lose money. So one of the suggestions that I make to you is that you actually set up a trading bank, but you split that bank in half. And with half of that bank, you play around, you get used to the trading process, you try a few things, but in your mind, you write off that money. Immediately you split your bank in two. That way it's easier to come to terms with losses and mistakes that you make. And even if you lose half your bank, you still have half of it left for when you've made all of those mistakes, got them out of your system, and you want to start trading properly. make sure you have a trading plan. Whatever strategy you're using, whatever market you're in, make sure that as you're about to enter the market, you know exactly what you're going to do given a number of scenarios. When I enter a market, I already know where I'm going to get out at a potential profit, and I also know at what point that trade will have gone wrong, and therefore I need to get rid of my position. If you don't have a trading plan, you will not be guided by that, and you'll have to make stuff up on the spot, and that's when the emotions will overwhelm you and force you into errors. So it's really helpful to have a trading plan because that will act as a guide to you, but also you get objective feedback on the market. If something goes wrong, you can adjust your trading plan and take that forward with you to improve your trading. But if you don't have a trading plan, you've got no hope of adjusting your actions. And also with a trading plan, you can practice on the execution of it. Without one, you're just messing around in the market and you have no structure to what you're doing. So make sure you have a trading plan. The way you think can be an edge as well. Trading will force you to do all sorts of weird and wonderful things. There's an invisible hand in the market, especially where money's involved, that will push you around. So read about the psychology of trading, understand exactly how your emotions are influencing what you're doing, and come to terms with that. Because a lot of people simply can't, or they ignore it. So it's really important to understand when you're actively trading and using money, exactly how your mind is influencing that. If you want an example of this, go into practice mode on BetAngel, trade a market, and then actually go and flip and trade in live mode and just see how different your actions are when you actually have to use real money and bear real losses. So yeah, working on that can also be an edge in your trading. So yeah, learn about the trading, the psychology of trading and how it influences what you're about to do. Make sure you understand money management and your objective when trading, because if you fail to get that correctly, you will go bust. When you're actually trading, what you're doing is you're looking at a bank size and you're only ever going to win a small proportion of that bank. You're either going to be positive or negative of the stake that you have in the market and of the entire bank that you're using at that particular moment in time. That's trading. When you're gambling, you're exposing the entire bank to risk. So make sure that you fully understand that trading is a matter of how much you win, how frequently you win, how often you lose, and how much you lose when you do lose. It's nothing like traditional gambling. And therefore, you need to treat it completely differently as well. So make sure you're fully conversant with that before you actually start trading. The psychological aspects of trading is something that catches people out all the time, especially if you've just started out. So why not try automating some of your trading? Because that eliminates all of the emotional aspects of trading completely, and it will give you a really firm base to work from. When you automate trading, you get pure feedback from the market. There are no ifs or buts. It either works or it doesn't, and that will give you a great base to work from, even if you intend to manually trade. Now, trading on Betfair and sports markets in general is similar, but not the same as trading in financial markets. If you're trading an equity, a bond, interest rates, or foreign exchange, all manner of different things in financial markets, they behave in a certain way, and it's the same in sports markets. And one of the things that catches people out when they're trading sports markets is seasonality. It's very strong in sports markets, and when you're Betfair trading, you need to take account of that. Tennis matches are played on different surfaces over the course of the year. You have the all-weather flat season, you have the turf flat season, you have the jump season in horse racing, different incentives for football teams at different times of the year, different levels of fixture congestion. Each sport has its own level of seasonality. So if you expect to get the same results over the course of a season, that's the wrong way to look at it. You expect results to ebb and flow over the course of the season, depending upon where you are within the season and the strategy that you're pursuing. So make sure that you keep an eye on seasonality. So my top tip is that little and often soon adds up. And what I mean by that is, rather than going for some grand total or trying to get the big results or trying to get a very long winning sequence or something like that, what you're better off doing is accepting that the way to trade is a balance of profits and losses, and going for a small gain overall over a large number of markets. Because what happens is little and often soon adds up. You do little amounts on average over a large number of markets, and then gradually that cumulative total is quite large in the scheme of things. But also you'll feel under less pressure to get a result if you're trading for much smaller amounts. So especially when you're starting, it's helpful just to go for a relatively small target, but to do it frequently. Because if you keep it simple, you go for something that's easily achievable, you'll begin to build confidence in what you're doing. And also, if you trade enough markets, then you'll be able to reach your total that way. You don't have to go for one big trade or be very accurate or wait for the perfect moment. It's very helpful to be active in the market and get a good average result overall. Little and often soon adds up, and if you do enough markets, then that will achieve exactly the targets that you're looking for. So I hope those tips have been useful for you. There is actually a lot more depth to go into on each one of these individual tips. And for that reason, I've listed a link in the description below to videos that cover each of these topics in great depth. So watch those videos if you want to go into more detail on each of these individual tips. Anyway, I hope that video has been useful for you.